One pick. One throne.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to King of the Hill Survival Pool Show. I'm your host, Shawn Stewart, and it is week 11 in the NFL, week 12 in college football. So we have a great and wonderful guest. So apparently the X feed is not working, but great news is it is on YouTube and is on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. So I have a guest. His name is Richey, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. So yeah, apologize for that little small delay, but again, that's X for you because it's a new profile. And by the way, you can follow the show on X at King O the Hills and on Instagram at King of the Hill Survivor. So those pages have been up since last week. And not to mention, we are also available on not only on the 586 Sports website, but we're also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts as well. All right. So you're going to very enjoy it. So not only we have the survival pool for week 11 in NFL, but I also have the touchdown streak survivor contest on Splash Sports. And then, of course, week 12 of college football survivor pool for those that are still in their survivor pool contest on Splash Sports. So if you are a new customer of Splash Sports, you can use my code UUM2IX and get a free $10 when you enter a contest that is $10 or plus. So it can either do that or a combination of entries. So for example, if a contest was $5 entries, let's say the contest is $5, right? And then you put in 3. So 5 times 3, that's 15. You get that free $10 because it was a $10 plus contest. So if you give your friend your referral link after they put in a contest that's $10 or more, you and your friend will get $10 each for free. Okay. Yeah, I had to get a little drink. All right. So without further ado, let me bring him in, by the way. So he has been waiting patiently. All right. I'm seeing his face right now. He's like, yep, I'm ready. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Brett Richey. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Shawn? I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. So before I got into the air, I just entered some new contests for week 11 because last week I actually picked Carolina over the Saints. Of course, the Saints lost that game, so it was a bummer. But hey, we still got time for survival pool. So for those that have not played before, so you still got plenty of time to even play.
Yeah, I mean, they're running them nonstop, and there's more products coming out which are going to be like in-game survivor, and it's like a format that's booming. It's I've gambled on the NFL in every possible way, just straight betting, fantasy, daily fantasy, best ball, parlays, money line, whatever. Survivor to me is the most fun by far.
I absolutely agree.
And it brings it back to the raw, just which team is going to win. It's not, this guy didn't get enough yards. Just you got to pick a team to win one team a week. That shouldn't be that hard.
Exactly. And it's very easy. It is it ain't no odds or nothing. All you just have to do is pick a team you think is going to win. And if that team wins, you advance to the next round. All you just got to do is just strategize.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is growing. Okay. So we got tonight's game. That is the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. Now, before I got into the air, there is a lot of people that is picking the New England Patriots in their survivor pool because when there's a lot of teams when there's a lot of people picking that team, more likely you're going to find somewhere else because worst case scenario is you could be part of that elimination as well. So, according to Pool Genius, the Patriots project to be comfortable favorites in 5 of their remaining 7 games, and they have them at least 86% this week, which is 7% higher than any other team. So if you got multi-entry, that's one thing. But if it's just one, you might want to else look somewhere.
I think that's pretty good advice. I have 2 left in Circus Survivor. I'm putting one on the Patriots, and I have Patriots available in both. I'm using one on the Patriots. I'm saving the other because, as you mentioned, they have at Bengals, they have at Jets again, they have versus Miami, they have versus New York Giants. So there's several good spots that the Patriots will be usable in, and they're going to be bottlenecked off because they're only 50% available coming into this. I expect them to be 35%-ish, maybe 40. It'll be at least 30. And so you're now sub 20% availability for New England. In any pool you're in, they're going to be pretty rare because they've been popular all year. This is a good spot to use them. As you mentioned, like, I don't love being on the big chalk. I avoided Carolina last week sort of for that reason. But when a team gets north of -10, I don't mind it as much because it's just so infrequent that they lose those games north of. They still do. Look at Green Bay 2 weeks ago. They were -13, and they lost to the same Carolina team that then came back and lost to the Saints, which kind of just sums up the NFL right there. It's really a week-to-week league. There's you can never know. Like, so even Patriots are 86%, right? I believe that to be true. So 14% of I don't think there's locks or anything like that. It's 86% Patriots win this game. That makes them a good play. However, you would love to get through this week and still have them in your back pocket because they have 4 other spots that you might want to use them for when no one else can.
I absolutely agree with that as well. By the way, if those that didn't hear it, Patriots are favored by 13. Now, here's another one. We have the Green Bay Packers on the road to face the New York Football Giants because they did lose to the Carolina Panthers and the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. So the Giants fired their head coach, ran the ball, which was expected, but it was a matter of when they was going to do it. But the good news is the Packers are 4th in the NFL in EPA dropback, as Jordan Love should have more success against the Giants. That's ranked 22nd in defensive EPA dropback. So, and the quarterback for the Giants right now is Jameis Winston because last week Russell Wilson did play when Jackson Dart got injured. So Packers should not have no problem beating the Giants.
You'd think so, but Green Bay has been a very Jekyll and Hyde team all year. And I say this as of now, I plan to put my second circuit entry on Green Bay. So, but that's kind of just based on the market odds right now. That could change if the line moves. But I'm actually in this contest only because I've picked against the Giants 3 times. Each time it took me a complete miracle. I had Cowboys in week 2 where they needed a 64-yard field goal out of Brandon Aubrey to tie the game. I remember it was and then they might have won in overtime. I don't even remember. Then
Cowboys won in overtime. So
they needed a 64-yard field goal to send it to overtime, and then they still had to win in overtime. Then I had the Broncos against the Giants in the biggest meltdown in history, essentially, when they blew a 25-point lead. They were 99.9% to win, the Giants in game. I would be out of the contest. Both my entries had Broncos, and then both of my remaining entries had Bears this past week. And the only reason the Bears won is they Dart got injured and fumbled on the same play. And the Giants were up 10, or no, they might have been up 7, but they were driving, and then he got hurt, and then he fumbled on the exact same play, and then Russell Wilson wasn't any good. In terms of this week, again, I'm kind of a market odds guy, so the Giants are +7, Packers -7. I like 7 and north of 7. I feel a little more comfortable there. Although, as we saw with Buffalo last week, it's not a guarantee, but I do feel a little more comfortable when I can be. I mean, 7's just such a big number, right? It's a touchdown, so it's like you're over a touchdown favorite or even at one. I feel a little more comfortable, but. I would rather Russell Wilson because I feel Jameis is a very volatile player. And so when you're looking at kind of a money line bet, like spread, I wouldn't mind Jameis as much, right? If I'm betting spread on this game, but Jameis, I think, has upside that Russ doesn't, where Jameis, he could throw 4 or 5 touchdowns. We've seen that. And we've also seen him throw 4 or 5 picks. And so I'm not like bullet. He's third string for a reason, probably, but we've seen Jameis, like, he could spark an offense, man. The team loves him. You see any locker room interview or whatever, it's like these guys love Jameis.
Exactly, because that's only the scary thing is, like, if the only fear I have this, if the game is very close. If the game is very close, then I think that if you pick the Packers, I think you should be very scared if that game is close.
Yeah. And also the Packers D was supposed to be this great D. Then they get Micah Parsons, and then like Dallas put up 40 on them. Like they're losing. They lost to the Browns. They lost to the Panthers. I mean, and then they go and beat Detroit. So it's like it's a very up and down team, and they've been down more recently. I mean, they put up 7 on Monday night, and Philly hasn't even been that good this year, to be honest. So. It doesn't feel great, but the way I play is mostly based on the line, and still I'm looking to the future to see who I want to use and when. Like, you can't just take the biggest favorite every week, or you're going to run out of teams quickly. But I am considering Packers on one entry pretty strongly this week.
Now, there is one team I'm very confident in this week, and that is the Houston Texans when they face against the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Texans do have a top 5 defense in yards per allowed and allowed points on a league low of like 25.3% of opponent drive. They have 15 takeaways and have 10 interceptions against 9 passing touchdowns. So even if CJ Stroud is not playing, I would pick this would probably be like my confidence pick of the week for Survivor. Houston Texans beating the Tennessee Titans because Houston did beat Tennessee at Houston. So this game is at Tennessee. So Houston should sweep them.
I mean, Tennessee's been bad, but I have a different view of this game. I don't like it for Survivor for a couple of reasons. Primarily popularity. I think that Houston looks to be 25% or so plus. Like Carolina last week, I avoided for the same reason. When too many people get on a team, that sort of kills the upside in a team the way I play. Like, I want to navigate through the pool and eliminate a bunch of people. So I'm not just trying to make it to the end. I think if you're just trying to make it to the end and you don't care who you split with, it's something like, because I'm in Circa is the main contest I'm focused on, where there's 18,000 people that started it. So you're probably going to have multiple people at the end. Every year they've run it, it's been a multi-way split. So my paths that I'm trying to build are leading to like fewer people splitting at the end. But it checks a lot of boxes that people don't like, right? It's a divisional matchup that Houston won the first game, right? People say you usually don't beat the same team twice. It's on the road. Tennessee's coming off a bye. They're a very young team. Rookies typically get the biggest boost out of buys. The only box it's really not checking is it's not the Thursday night game. And so I think that and it looks like Davis Mills is going to be playing. But the Houston D might be the best D in the league. And I'm not sure what a bye is going to do for Cam Ward in this offense from what we've seen. They haven't really been able to move the ball. Can they move the ball on the best D in the league? I mean, I like Houston's -6 right now, last I saw. So I think they're a good play if you want to just make the end. But if you are worried about the popularity, like that's where the herd is going to be outside of
exactly, because that could play a part in that.
It's just you're not going to lever up on the field that much. You're just trying to make it through this week along with everybody else. And maybe New England loses too. Like if New England loses this week, all bets are off. I think Houston's a good play. I think everybody's a good play if New England loses tonight. But if New England wins tonight, 35% of the field's already through. So picking Houston, you're really just saying like, basically, I hope we all just make it to next week, and then we'll start to try and knock some people out.
Now, if you're not going to use Houston, if you're not going to pick Houston over Tennessee this week, I'm looking at it. You can actually look at Week 16 when they face against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes, and Week 16 is a very difficult week. So I actually already used Houston on both my entries, so it's sort of moot for me. But I prefer Week 16. If you have somebody, I'm not saying you should go down to Atlanta or somebody, that's like a 3.5. If you have somebody you're comfortable using that is in the Houston ballpark, Houston has a really good spot. That Week 16 is a very difficult week. I think the biggest favorite now projected is KC at Tennessee, but KC looks really good on a lot of weeks. So you have Buffalo at Cleveland. Like and again, Buffalo is already pretty rare. They have some other spots, and it gets thin. It gets thin quickly. Like week 16 to me is the toughest week left. If you look at the map of just like available teams, and so Houston home against Raiders is like, to me, that's a better. If you have somebody you're comfortable using here, I'd rather save them for then. But I can't really argue. I mean, I think Houston will win 70% of the time or whatever the line says.
Right, because I always do look at the line, and I also look at the popularity, and I also want to say this: when it gets to like week 9 in advance, you want to start paying a lot more attention to like how many people are picking this popularity team, because there's a difference of like in the earlier weeks, because I always avoid the elite teams, but when it's like week 9 and beyond, that's where you have to like really pay attention to like the popularity of that particular team.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like in week 9 in Circa, Rams were 65%, which is ridiculous to me. And so I said then, I was like, this is the worst pick of the year. And they were minus 14 home against Saints. Like, it's not like I thought they were going to lose. But
Right.
The thing is, you're just not getting any value there. Now the Rams are 12% available. I have Rams on both my entries. They're a good team, right? They're tied with Seattle for basically the best team in the West right now. So I have a great team that only 12% of people can use that has their favorite or tied in basically every game going forward. And like things can pop up with injuries or whatever. And so, yes, you can take the free square that with minus 14, but it's hurting your entry. Like I got through with Chargers at Tennessee minus 7. They don't have nearly the same value.
Right.
And they're 70% available. So I really like this availability number in a contest, because that's how later in the year you can get on an island and really just flip the whole pool. Like you can, if Rams are only 12% owned, like there's a possibility late in the year I'm the only guy with Rams. Like I might be able to ship the whole pool if Rams and 5, I had a 16 parlay. It's unlikely, but when you're dealing with Survivor, it's like it's a very top heavy contest, right? These outlier outcomes are kind of okay to gamble on. Like, like last week when Denver got through on Thursday night,
that was scary.
People took like Indianapolis, Baltimore, and they were like burning these good teams that didn't have great odds. Rams also. And to me, that's a mistake once Denver's through, because if I want to take it, Indy was only 2% available. They were minus 6. There were 3 other teams north of 7 plus Denver. So if I want to take a 2% team, I want at least the chance that the top 4 teams lose, right? And now I flip the whole pool. When 30% of the people are already through, you don't get that upside. You're just trying to make it through with them. So that's kind of how I approach it.
I absolutely agree with that. Now, here's one I'm not confident that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals, because last time they faced each other, Cincinnati won that game because I thought that Pittsburgh was going to sweep the whole division, but apparently that's not going to happen. And as I'm looking at the Steelers offense and defense, I know the game is at Pittsburgh, but I just feel like, look, I'm not going to be surprised if Cincinnati beats them. And plus the way Joe Burrow is playing, because he's been playing since 2008. He's been playing since 2008. So this is a game I'm not confident in. But if I had to choose, I would say Pittsburgh win that game. So I will stay away from this game, and I don't know what type of value will Pittsburgh will have as the weeks go by. That's the scary part about Pittsburgh.
They don't have much value. So I'm a Steelers fan. I grew up in Pittsburgh. And so I follow the team closely just as a fan, and then I do all the sort of fantasy and Survivor stuff. And I agree with you. So first off, this year it's been a very Jekyll and Hyde team. Also, the offense has been good for the most part until recently. It was the defense letting us down, which is the highest paid D in the league. And it was the gamble was supposed to be Rodgers, who looked good. And then the D kind of got it together, but now the wheels are off the bus on offense. And another thing that the Steelers, just as a fan over the years, is they tend to like blow these winnable games at home, like home against Raiders. It's like it's playing down to the opposition, and then we'll go into Baltimore and give them a game no matter who we have. And so It doesn't feel great. I've already burned my Pittsburgh, so I'm not looking at them. But I think at -6 or -5.5, like whatever it is, I don't mind them. Certainly as a pivot off of Houston, like those lines are close enough to where I think Pittsburgh's fine. Houston has better future value. Houston has that home against Raiders spot on a very tricky week. Pittsburgh,
Right.
week 15, they have home against Miami, which may, the line I don't think will be nearly as big as Houston versus Raiders. And week 15 has a lot more options. There's a ton of choices there. And so, and then other than that, I think Pittsburgh has like an at Cleveland, which in week 17, which like maybe Shador is in and Cleveland's out of it and Pittsburgh's fighting. But either way, they're on the road in Cleveland. Cleveland's D is really good. Pittsburgh's offense has been struggling. I don't think that line can get too high. So if you have Pittsburgh, to me, this is as fine a week as any to use them if you see a reason to hold any team that has better odds.
Now, here's one. Now, if you want to be very different, I thought I saw one. It was the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because let's be honest, the Buccaneers is banged up, and Buffalo, I don't know what's happened to Buffalo because I thought Buffalo was going to win the AFC East, but apparently New England's in the lead. So when I look at this one, it's like I would pick Buffalo in this one. But the concern thing I have with Buffalo is they lose the teams that they should not. Like, for example, like this year when they was playing Atlanta on Monday night, technically Atlanta should lose that game, but Buffalo find ways to blow games. That will be my concern if you're picking the Buffalo Bills against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I lost one with Bills last week, and but thankfully Carolina lost, which ended up it was still a good week for me, losing 1 out of 3. But I mean, the Bills are another Jekyll and Hyde team, right? So it's like that Miami game, it wasn't close, right? Like they were never really in the game. Anytime they were close to making it close, they fumbled it away. So, I can see them being motivated or whatever after this week. I'm like, okay, here's the line, and like they're -6. So it's fine. I think it's fine to use Buffalo. The thing is they have better spots in the future, and they're already rare. So it's like, right?
All right, what the hell happened? Because I was like, you was talking, I was like, the hell happened?
You got disconnected from what I could tell, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Because we just got new internet a couple of weeks ago. Now, there's another team that I'm very iffy with, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. Because I'll give you an example. Because I remember when the Atlanta Falcons was supposed to play the Miami Dolphins because Kirk Cousins was the QB at the time. And last 5 games, he was like 1-4. And they're playing against the Carolina Panthers. So that's one thing about Atlanta is like on paper, you think like when they play a certain team, you think they'll win. But then when they start playing, you be like, how they even lose that? That's when I feel like if you're looking at Carolina and Atlanta game, another NFC South opponent.
I mean, I lost 8 entries on Atlanta week 3 against Carolina. So I'm very familiar with this Atlanta team. They beat the Bills. All these teams are just all over the place. It's like they're the consistent. The Chiefs are 5-4. It's like it's been a very interesting year where they're very like Seattle is probably one of the most consistent teams, to be honest. Seattle and Rams, like teams you wouldn't have thought of as in the top coming in to the year. Atlanta, I mean, it was funny. They were bigger favorites at Carolina earlier in the year by a lot, by like 3 points than they are now, home against Carolina. And back then, I remember thinking, I'm getting them at -5.5 or -6.5. I forget which. Thinking, well, I'm just trying to be clever, getting it through ahead of the -10 this week, and now they're -3.5 because Carolina has been surprising people. Atlanta, though, they played Indy. They lose by 1 point in Germany. That was a close. They almost won that game. So sometimes Atlanta is horrible, and then other times they played New England close too, up in New England. So they're off 2 close losses, and where they played 2 top teams close. So, like, I kind of like Atlanta here just from a ball knowledge standpoint, but I'm a line is the line guy, and they're only -3.5. So the market's not really buying into this Atlanta revival. You lose close games, they don't really care.
And then last but not least is the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Ravens have won 3 games in a row. Now, for the past 4 games, the defense held their opponents to less than 20 points. 9 offensive touchdowns in that span. And right now, there's a couple of games you can actually use Baltimore, but if you got Baltimore right now, unless there's a better team, I would say Baltimore for a future pick, probably later in end of the season, just like I did when they was playing against Cleveland last year.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore, they've got a really nice stretch coming up. And so this is a fine spot to use Baltimore because nobody's going to do it, or, not many people. But they're home against Jets next week, which is like Christmas Day for a Survivor team.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
And then they're home against Bengals the week after, where Burrow's supposed to still be out, but maybe he's back. And over in Circa, that's on the Thanksgiving slate where there's only 4 games. So they're appealing to me in both of those. Then they get Pittsburgh twice. They get they're home against New England, which isn't great, but that's on that week 16, I believe, which is a very tricky week. And so they're going to be bigger favorites. It's just I don't mind using Baltimore here. I would just for sure look at your next 2 weeks to make sure you have somebody you're comfortable using instead of Baltimore. And then if you feel like it's a little clever to get them through here, I think it's a good play if you have the backup to do it. You realize they're -14.5 right now next week,
right,
in the look ahead line against Jets, which is basically a free win. And so if you have something else you're comfortable doing to try and get tricky this week, I don't mind using Baltimore, but I'm kind of with you. They're in my save bucket. Save it if I can. If I need to use it, it's pull in case of emergency kind of status for me right now.
I absolutely agree. Now, where can my listeners find you on social media? And I did watch your show on X after work.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's where I am mostly, just doing some Survivor streams over on X. Brett Richey, just get rid of that space there. Yeah, and hit me up. I love Survivor.
All right, thank you very much, and look forward to having you on the future show. It was a great pleasure having you on King of the Hill.
All right, thanks, Shawn. Peace.
All right, take care. That was Brett Richey on the program. So, like I said, I apologize for that small delay because I don't know what the hell happened to the internet, but now we're safe and sound. But the great thing about it is, since it's in the cloud, I can actually edit it. So that'd be the great part about it. So, speaking of that, so we're going to go over our next segment. So it is called the Week 11 NFL Touchdown Streak Survivor on Splash Sports. So here's how it goes. So if you're going to pick a running back, it has to be from a receiving, rushing, or a return. Even if it's a punt or a kickoff return. If you're going to pick a quarterback, it cannot be a passing touchdown. It has to be a receiving touchdown. So all they have to do is score a touchdown. So if they score a touchdown, you advance the next week. If not, you're eliminated. So it's the same thing. The only difference is it's players. So once again, new customers can use my code UUM2IX and get $10 free when you enter a contest that is $10 plus or more. And as a matter of fact, when you think of Splash Sports, it is more of a community type of daily fantasy app where you can play along with friends, family, co-workers, vice versa. So I've been using Splash Sports since last year, since it opened up in Michigan. So that's how I started doing this show, because the show was originally called Safe or Trap. Now it's called King of the Hill. So there you have it. All right. So here are my 5 picks. Okay, here's my 5 picks for the NFL Touchdown Streak Survivor picks you can select on Splash Sports. So let's look at Trey McBride. Now, he has found the end zone in 4 straight weeks, scoring 5 touchdowns, and he leads the Cardinals in both target share, 29%, and red zone targets, total of 19, and will be heavily involved in the game plan against the Niners. So, the 49ers has surrendered 6 touchdowns to tight ends this season, and with Fred Warner on injured reserve, McBride should find plenty of space. So look for him to continue his hot streak and find the end zone once again in Week 11. Next one, let's look at Bijan Robinson. He is averaging 5 yards a carry on the year, but has scored just 6 total touchdowns this season. The Falcons' offense ranked in the top 5 in Pro Football Focus run block with rates. The Carolina Panthers have allowed Josh Jacobs and James Cook to run wild and find the end zone over the last 3 weeks, and they gave up 83 yards to Alvin Kamara last week. Bijan Robinson had over 100 total yards in this matchup earlier this season and will be fed the football early and often on Sunday. And as a matter of fact, he leads the NFL in yards created per touch and has 22 red zone touches this season. Third one we're looking at is Hunter Henry. 4 touchdowns on the season and has thrown 9 red zone targets, 7th among tight ends, logged the 6th most snaps for this position, and has a target share north of 17% on the season. The Patriots take on the Jets defense that has been tortured by tight end touchdowns this season, allowing 7 scores to the position, most recently surrendering a touchdown to Cleveland tight end David Njoku last week. Fourth, let's look at Jamar Chase. As I'm looking at it, he's being targeted at staggering 23 times, 16 of those passes for 161 yards and a touchdown. He is tops on the team and 9th in the NFL in red zone target share at 32.5%. Pittsburgh have a miserable time trying to stop wide receivers this year. They are dead last in yards allowed to the position on a weekly basis. And last but not least, Justin Jefferson. Now, the Bears have failed to play at a competitive level on that side of the field as they head into Sunday. They are ranked below average in defensive DVOA and EPA. As the Vikings wide receiver, he leads the team in total red zone targets with a 35.5 target share. So there you have it. And I was looking at something. I was looking at my notepad. As a matter of fact, while I was doing my research, because right now we're in week 12 of college football. It's not favorites. So after Thursday night football, I will put up the survival pool grid sheets for NFL and college. So just letting you know up front. All right. So after the Thursday night football, I'll put the survival pool grid sheets. So there are, I'm looking at it, there are 3 games you want to pay attention to. So if you are on your college football survivor pool on Splash Sports, this is information that you need to pay attention to. So the first one we're going to look at is Notre Dame. 9th-ranked Notre Dame is going to play Pitt Panthers. Now, this is the 72nd meeting between these two schools dating back to 1909. Wow. So 50-21-1 advantage to Notre Dame Irish. Now, Notre Dame has the ship after starting this season with 2 losses against Miami and 3rd-ranked Texas A&M. Now, they have won 7 straight by an average of 26.1 points. CJ Carr has been consistent, while the running back duo of Jeremiah Love and Jardinian Price may be the best combo in the country. I absolutely agree. Now, Pittsburgh, after consecutive losses to West Virginia and 20th-ranked Louisville, the Panthers 2-2. The season had the potential of unraveling, but quarterback Mason Heinznoff became the starter. The Panthers have reeled off 5 straight wins and are one of the hottest teams in the country. So aside from their 3-point win at Florida State during the streak, Pitt Panthers have won the other 4 games by an average of 23 points. So keep that in mind. Another one we're looking at is Arkansas and LSU. Now, Arkansas does have a 2-7 record this season as Sam Pittman was fired, and the Razorbacks have lost 7 straight after a promising 2-0 start. Now, quarterback Taylor Green leading the way, and they have also had no luck during the stretch aside from that bad loss to Notre Dame. Now, the Razorbacks haven't lost a game by double digits. LSU fired their coach, as we all know. Now, they have staggeringly recently with 4 losses in their last 5. Offense hasn't scored more than 25 points in FBS game, has been especially troubling. Now, Arkansas did very come close winning an SEC game multiple times, 0-5. Now, this could be an opportunity for Arkansas to beat LSU because that LSU defense is very good, but they may have fired their last shot during that loss at Alabama. So if they don't play at a high level, don't be surprised if Arkansas pull off that upset. And then last but not least, we're looking at Virginia versus Duke. Now, Chandler Morris and Duke's high-risk defensive tendencies, he has been the catalyst of Virginia's offensive rise. He's completed 66.7% of his passes for 2,088 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Now, he's also rushed for 4 scores. Now, he was forced out of the Wake Forest game early after the hit to the head, so Tony Elliott had to be cautious that his quarterback status. Now, Daniel Colleen, 145 passing yards, failed to generate explosive plays that could drop off, could prove costly against Duke's potent offense led by Darian Minotz, the quarterback for Duke. This season. Now, the Blue Devils defense ranked 96 in scoring defense and 102nd in total defense, that's giving up nearly 400 yards per game. McElroy highlighted that Duke's aggressive blitz packages under head coach Manny Diaz. Those of you forgot about Manny Diaz, Diaz used to be the coach for the Miami Hurricane. So just give you a little information. So that often creates opportunities for opposing playmakers such as Virginia running back Jamari Taylor. And as a matter of fact, as I was doing my grid sheets, I am going to look at it real quick because I want to get this done real quick and then we'll be out of here. So if it wasn't for that internet, we would have got it done early. So let me look. So according to Splash Sports, they have Duke a 66.70% chance of beating Virginia, and Virginia has a 33.30% of beating Duke. So just letting you know that one. So there's a other couple of favorites. So Florida is facing Virginia Tech. Florida State has a 86.30% chance. Georgia Tech is facing Boston College. That's a road game, 85.90%. Then Miami is playing a home game against North Carolina State. That is a 86.60% against North Carolina State. Then Wake Forest almost have a 70% chance of beating North Carolina. That's also a home game. SEC, let's look at the SEC. Now, SEC, so Alabama going to play Oklahoma. Alabama has a 67% chance of beating Oklahoma. So after that, they're going to play Eastern Illinois in week 13, and then they got to go to Auburn in week 14 of the Iron Bowl. Then Georgia is playing Texas. Georgia has a 66.70% chance of beating Texas. So after that, they're going to play Charlotte in week 13, and then a rivalry game in week 14. That's Georgia home game. Then what else we're looking at? We're looking at a couple of games. Ole Miss and Mississippi State will play their last game, the Egg Bowl. So Ole Miss have a almost 90% chance of beating Florida. Then after that, it's a bye week. They'll be well rested, and then that'll be a road game. And let me look at Mississippi State. Oh, so both teams will have bye weeks. So Mississippi State is on the road against Missouri. So Mississippi State has a 26% chance of beating Missouri, while Missouri has a 74% chance. So go figure with that. Then also look at Texas A&M. 94%. They're undefeated. So they have a home game against actually this game, South Carolina, and then another game, Sanford, excuse me, Samford. So 12 and 13, both of those are home games, and then they go on the road in Austin, face against the Texas Longhorns. Then let's look at the Big 12. So I want to get you guys prepared so that way you won't be like, oh my God, what teams can I pick? So also, you got Arizona State. They're playing West Virginia. This will be a home game for them. And then week 13, they go on the road to face Colorado. And then their last game is Arizona's rivalry game. So Arizona State has a 83.90%, beating West Virginia. Kansas State is playing a road game against Oklahoma State, so that should not be a problem. Now, Kansas State will be on the road to play Utah in week 13. Then you got Texas Tech will play University of Central Florida, so that should not be a problem. They should win that game. Then we're gonna look at the Big Ten. Big Ten. My Big Ten conference. I know Michigan has a 81% chance of beating Northwestern, so they have a road game against Northwestern. Then they have a road game against Maryland. So those next two should not have no problem beating those two, especially Northwestern, but don't be surprised if that game is close. Then Ohio State, well, they'll beat the brakes out of UCLA. So that shouldn't be a problem. They'll beat the brakes out of UCLA and they'll beat the brakes out of Rutgers. So those two games Ohio State going to play is going to be a home game. And then this year, the game will be in Ann Arbor because last year that game was in Columbus. Then you look at USC. USC is playing Iowa. They have a 73.30% chance of beating Iowa. And then their next game is a road game against Oregon. And then a rivalry game between USC and UCLA. Then Washington plays Purdue. Washington should not have no problem beating Purdue. I don't know what the hell happened with them when they faced against Wisconsin. That really knocked me out of my college football survival pool. So Washington will be a road game. It's a home game in week 12, and then 13, that's a road game at UCLA, and then their last game is a home game against Oregon. So there's a lot of scenarios that I want you to be updated on. All right. So, wow, that's been 50 minutes. So if it wasn't for that connection, I would have got it done quicker. But hey, at least I got it done. All right. So once again, I would like to thank my good friend, Mr. Brett Richey, for being on King of the Hill Survival Pool Show. And once again, you can follow us on social media. That is on X is King O the Hills on X. And then on Instagram is King of the Hill Survivor. So not only we're on the 586 Sports website for the audio version, but we're also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and I'm trying to think, iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts. So Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and the 586 Sports website. As a matter of fact, we do have a transcript. So this is the first time we actually had a Survivor Pool show that has transcripts. Because usually when you watch YouTube, they have transcripts. So if you go on the sports, if you go on the 586 Sports website, you'll see on the right-hand corner of the latest episode of King of the Hill Survivor Pool, and then you'll see a transcript. All right. So thank you guys very much. I will enjoy watch the Thursday night football game between the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. And I also want to say something. If you have YouTube TV, NBC Sports Network will begin the debut on Monday. So I have YouTube TV. So it's been 2 weeks since I haven't had ESPN. So it is what it is. So I ain't too worried about it because I'm a Big Ten guy anyway. So you guys take care and you guys have a nice and wonderful week. And also a reminder, after the Thursday night football game, you'll see the Survivor Pool grid sheets. I will post that on social media, and my social media feed is 586 Sports S with 2 S's. So I'll put that in the description. So thank you very much.
One pick. One throne.